It's when you're young and squishy that you repents. But these two cubs of mine," and he eyed his boys with determination, "has got to give up evil ways right off. You've got to go to school, sons, and learn something, and quit poaching and having the law hanging over ye all the time." The boys looked ugly and rebellious, and perceiving it, he went on, "Come on, none of that. When you're respectable, hard-working men, you'll be ashamed of your father, and that'll be my punishment if I don't get out of this. And you needn't kick, 'cause I'll lick you all to splinters if I catches one of you in the woods this spring. You gotta turn right around." "I'll turn right around and come back," said Zebedee, bitterly and furiously. Lucas got up, took him by the coat collar, and without a word led him outside the cabin. A few minutes later they returned, both flushed, Lucas grim and determined, and Zebedee sulky and conquered. "Air you also cravin' for an argument?" asked Lucas ironically of Joe. "I'm cravin' to lick you," said the boy, bursting out into a wild raving and swearing at him. "Swearing when there's ladies present?" said his father, seizing him by the shoulder and dragging him the way his brother had gone. 'Tilda Jane stopped eating and sat miserably with downcast eyes. She felt dimly that she had made trouble in this family and brought additional misfortune upon herself. For what kind of escorts would these whipped boys be? Lucas's tussle with Joe was a longer one than the former with Zebedee had been, and not until after some time did he return. Joe hung about outside for an hour. Then he came in, shaking and stamping the snow from him, and, as if nothing had happened, sat down and finished his breakfast. Lucas, meanwhile, had been making preparations for his long tramp. 'Tilda Jane watched him with interest as he took a sack, tied a potato in each corner, and proceeded to fill it with parcels of provisions. When at last he sat down, took off his cowhide moccasins, and began to tie on soft moose moccasins fit for snowshoeing, he addressed his two boys. When parents tell their children things air to be did, they ought to be did. When the children raves and tears, they ought to be licked. And when the licking's over, the reasons come. Air you sighin' either of ye to see the inside of state prison? Air you, Zebedee? "No, sir," said the boy shortly. "Air you, Joe?" Joe, with his mouth full of beans, replied that he was not. "Well, that's where you land if you don't quit breaking state's law. You ain't either one of ye as clever as I be, but I've got to try to give it up, too. I've been feeling that ye'd get caught some day, and I've made up my mind, and I'll hold it to my dying day. I'm going to crowd ye out of this risky game. If I catch one of you after deer again, I'll give ye up to the warden myself. I swan I will." And he brought his hand down energetically on the table. "Now you go home, go to school with smart boys and gals till summer vacation, and then you can tell me what you think of it. I'll not pretend I'll let ye out of it if you don't like it, but I guess you will. You've been to school before and made good progress, and I asks your pardon for taking ye out." Zebedee listened in quiet resentfulness, but Joe, who possessed a more volatile disposition, and who, having satisfied his hunger, was comparatively good-natured, remarked, "What'll you do about Poacher, Pop?" Lucas's face darkened suddenly and unhappily. "Come here, old boy," he said, and when the dog went to him, he bowed his head for a minute over him. "We've been good friends, me and you. Many's the trap I led you in, and many a time my heart would have been a sore if you'd have been caught. And now, count of my transgression, you're a wandering sheep." You'll never get back in the field again unless some good sheep leads you." "There's something you can't make over," said Zebedee briefly. "He'll chase deer as long as he can wag a leg." "Leetle gal," said Lucas suddenly, "would you like to hev this dog?" To have him? That Beauty dog? 'Tilda Jane gasped confusedly. "Oh, sir, you'd never give him away." "I'd most as soon give a child away," said Lucas, "and I'd never do it if it warn't for his habits. You're a goin' to Ciscasset, which is something of a place, and a ways from the woods, and you'll pet him and kind o' cherish him, and keep him from frettin' and bein' lonely. My old woman don't set much store by dogs, and when I'm workin' in the tannery he's off doggin' deer by himself. He's nearly got shot dead. See those ripples in his back? That's where he's been grazed. Poacher, old boy, you've got to go with this leetle gal, if she'll hev you." 'Tilda Jane hesitated, stammered, looked into the dog's anxious face and the boy's protesting ones, and said at last, "But the old man where I'm going, maybe he'll breach at my having 2 dogs." "Prob'ly he will," said Lucas. "But you crowd right up to him. Folks is queer 'bout dogs. Them as don't like 'em don't want to give 'em standing room on this airth. But you walk right up to 'em and say, 'This dog has as good a right to a place on God's footstool as you have, and I'm going to see he gets it.' If you was more like a dog yourself, you'd be more thought of. Ye cross-grained, cranky old Skillingsby. Come, you sons, quit that scowlin'. Do ye know why I'm givin' that dog to the little gal, stid o' you?" They uttered a brief negative. "'Cause she knows dog language," said Lucas, dropping his voice to a whisper, and looking mysteriously over his shoulder. "An' if there was a deer here, you'd find she knowed deer talk. You sons is fond of dogs, but not in the style leetle gal is, or Ivy. It's a kind of smartness at getting inside the animal's skin. He don't verily talk. You just understand him without talk. Leetle gal, what's Poacher saying now?" "Oh, he don't want to go with me," burst out 'Tilda Jane with energy. "He's a sick dog. Look at his eyes and his drooping ears. He don't want you to give him away. He don't want me to take him. Oh, I can't." And she buried her face in her hands as if to hide temptation from her. "He's gotta go," said Lucas, stroking Poacher's head. "And mind, dog," and he put his hand under the dog's jaws, lifted them so he could look in his eyes, "no running away from Ciscasset. Ye stay with that leetle gal. Don't you come chasing round here, 'cause if you do, I'll turn my back on ye for a runaway, and you'll feel worse'n you do now, when we part on speaking terms. Say, is it a bargain, old feller? Call him, leetle gal." 'Tilda Jane was overawed by Lucas's determined manner, and dropping her hands, she ejaculated feebly, "Here, Poacher, Poacher." The dog looked at her, then pressed closer to his master, whereupon Lucas seized a stick by the fireplace and struck him sharply. Poacher turned his large brown eyes on him in one despairing, reproachful glance, then with drooping head sauntered across the room to the boys. "Call him," said Lucas to 'Tilda Jane. "Speak up, as if ye knew he was your dog." "Poacher," she said in a firm voice, "come here. You're most as unhappy as I be. We'll be unhappy together." The suffering animal moved slowly toward her, and laid his head on her